On Christmas morning, my daughter poured me a special tea and insisted I drink it while it was hot. Something about her smile set off an alarm in my head. On an impulse, I switched my mug with her husband's when no one was looking. 20 minutes later, he collapsed onto the recliner, slurring his words and unable to stand up. It was in that moment that I understood. My own daughter had tried to drug me, and the worst was yet to come. But before I continue, check if you are already subscribed to the channel and write in the comments. Where are you watching this video from? We love knowing how far our stories are reaching. I should have noticed it sooner. The signs were always there, flashing like warning lights that I chose to ignore because, well, she was my daughter. And mothers always want to believe the best about their children, do we not? But that Christmas morning, when Harper walked into the living room with that steaming mug and a smile that was just a little too wide, something inside me shifted. An ancient instinct, the kind you develop after raising 2 kids and working 30 years as a nurse in the emergency room. You learn to read people. You learn to see beyond the words. "Mom, I made you a special tea," she said, extending the white mug with blue flowers. The same mug I had given her for her 15th birthday. Ginger with lemon and a touch of honey. I know you love it. I took the mug, feeling the warmth against my palms. The steam rose in lazy spirals, carrying a strong scent of ginger. But there was something else, something I could not quite identify. Harper stood there in front of me, that smile still plastered on her face, her eyes fixed on me in a way that was not natural. It was like she was waiting for something, watching. "Thanks, sweetie," I murmured, bringing the cup to my lips. But I did not drink. I pretended I was blowing on it to cool it down, while my brain worked fast, trying to figure out what was wrong. That was when I noticed Caleb's mug, her husband, on the side table next to the recliner. Black coffee, untouched, still steaming. Harper turned around for a second to adjust the bow on the Christmas tree, and I acted without thinking. I reached out, grabbed his mug, and put mine in its place. When she looked back, I was already lifting the coffee mug to my lips, taking a sip of the bitter, strong liquid. Pure coffee, no sugar, nothing else but coffee. I saw her face change. It was quick, just a second, but I saw it. Her eyes widened slightly. Her mouth parted as if she were going to say something, but then she controlled herself. The smile returned, forced this time, and she said, "Mom, that is not your mug. Yours has the ginger." "Oh, really?" I put on a confused expression, looking at the 2 cups. "Sorry, honey. I already took a sip of his coffee. It is delicious, by the way. But I made the tea especially for you," she insisted, and there was a touch of urgency in her voice now. "With fresh ingredients, it will be good for your throat." "My throat is perfect," I replied, taking another sip of the coffee. "But thanks for the thought." She stood there for a few more seconds, her lips pressed into a thin line, before finally turning around and heading back to the kitchen. I watched her go, my heart beating faster than it should have been. Was I becoming paranoid? Was she just a concerned daughter wanting to take care of me, and I was seeing things where there was nothing? But then Caleb walked into the living room, all excited, talking about the gifts left to open. He threw himself onto the recliner next to me and grabbed the mug I had swapped, the one that was originally mine. He brought it to his lips and took a long drink. Harper made you that ginger tea you like, Barbara. Did she leave it here for you?" "It was supposed to be mine," I said quietly, watching him drink more. "But I grabbed your coffee by mistake." He shrugged and kept drinking while turning his attention back to his cell phone. I sat there, hands clenched in my lap, counting the minutes. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. It was at 18 minutes that Caleb dropped his phone onto the cushion. His hands were trembling slightly. "Is everything okay?" I asked, already leaning forward. "I do not know," he murmured, running a hand over his face. "I am feeling kind of weird, dizzy." 20 minutes. He tried to stand up and stumbled, grabbing the arm of the chair. His words started coming out slurred, as if his tongue was too heavy. "Harper," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Caleb is not feeling well." She appeared in the kitchen doorway in a second, and the expression on her face told me everything. It was not surprise. It was not genuine concern. It was the panic of someone watching a plan go wrong. "What? What happened?" She ran toward him, but I noticed how her hands were shaking, how she avoided my gaze. I do not know, Caleb groaned, letting himself fall back into the chair. Everything looks blurry. I think I drank too much last night. But he had not drunk too much. I knew because I was with them the whole night. Caleb had only had 2 glasses of wine at dinner. That had been hours ago. I will get some water, Harper said, leaving the room quickly. I heard her speaking in low tones on the phone in the kitchen, but I could not make out the words. I sat there, watching my son-in-law struggle to keep his eyes open, and a cold certainty settled in my chest. The tea was for me. Whatever was in that cup was for me. And if I had drunk it, it would be me in that chair, dizzy, confused, vulnerable. Harper returned with a glass of water and helped Caleb drink. She kept avoiding my eyes, her face pale, hands still trembling. I think it is best if he rests, she said, helping her husband stand. I am going to take him up to the bedroom. I nodded in silence, watching him climb the stairs. Caleb could barely walk straight, leaning heavily on her. When they disappeared into the upstairs hallway, I got up and went to the kitchen. The mug with the ginger tea was still in the sink, half full. I picked it up carefully. I smelled the contents: ginger, lemon, honey, and something else. Something chemical, slightly bitter underneath the other aromas. I poured the liquid into a plastic water bottle I found under the sink, sealed it tight, and put it in my purse. Then I washed the mug, dried it, and put it back in the cupboard, as if nothing had happened. My daughter had tried to drug me. My own daughter, the girl I had rocked in my arms, whom I had raised alone after her father left us, for whom I had worked 2 jobs to give a good life. That same girl had put something in my tea. But why? That was the question hammering in my head as I went back to the living room and sat in the armchair, pretending I was just resting. Why would Harper do this? What would she gain by leaving me dizzy and confused? The answers started to form in my mind, one by one, like pieces of a grim puzzle I did not want to put together. The visits, increasingly frequent in recent weeks. The questions about my health, about my forgetfulness that I did not have, but that she insisted on mentioning. Mom, you already told me this 3 times, she would say, even when I was sure I was talking about it for the first time. And there were the documents. 2 months ago, Harper had shown up with papers for me to sign. It is just an authorization for the health insurance, Mom. They are requiring it now. I had signed without reading properly, trusting her. Were they really for health insurance? Or was it something else? The sound of footsteps on the stairs pulled me from my thoughts. Harper came down alone, her face still pale, but the smile was back in place. That rehearsed smile she used when she wanted to convince someone of something. Caleb is sleeping, she said, sitting on the sofa across from me. I think he really overdid it yesterday. You know how he gets when he starts drinking. I knew she was lying. But I pretended to believe her, because I needed time to think, to plan. If she knew I had figured it out, who knows what she would do? Poor thing, I murmured, keeping my face neutral. I hope he feels better soon. He will get better, Harper said too quickly. It is just a matter of sleeping a bit. We sat in silence for a moment, the air heavy between us. She played with her phone, but I could feel she was nervous. Her legs were bouncing, her fingers drumming on the side of the phone. Mom, she started without looking up. She was thinking, maybe it would be better if you came to live here with us, so you are not alone in that big house, and I could take care of you better. There it was, the truth starting to surface. She wanted me to move in with them. She wanted to have me under control, under surveillance. And if she had succeeded in drugging me today, if I had fallen over dizzy and confused, she would have the proof she needed to convince everyone that I could no longer live alone. I will think about it, I replied, keeping my voice calm. But I am fine where I am. Finally, she looked at me, and there was something cold in those eyes, something I had never seen before, or perhaps had never wanted to see. You are 65 years old, Mom. You are not a young woman anymore, and I have noticed you getting forgetful, repeating things. Would it not be safer to have someone nearby? My daughter was planting the seed, building the narrative. If she kept telling everyone that I was forgetful, confused, incapable, eventually people would believe it, especially if I proved that by having an episode, becoming suddenly disoriented, as if I had drunk something I should not have. I am fine, Harper, I repeated, and this time I let a touch of firmness enter my voice. Very well, actually. My memory is perfect, and I do not intend to move houses anytime soon. I left Harper's house 2 hours later, making up an excuse about having promised to call my sister. She protested, said I should stay for lunch, but I was already with my purse on my shoulder and the car keys in my hand. I was not going to spend one more minute in that house, pretending everything was normal when my daughter had just tried to drug me. The drive to my house, in the suburbs, took me 15 minutes, but it seemed to last an eternity. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, my heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. I kept going over everything in my head: her smile, the insistence with the tea, the look of panic when she realized I had switched the mugs, and Caleb, poor guy, paying the price for something meant for me. When I finally got home, I locked all the doors, all the windows, securing everything tight. I needed to feel safe. I needed to think clearly. I sat at the kitchen table and placed the bottle with the tea in front of me, watching the amber liquid through the transparent plastic. What to do now? Call the police? And say what? That my daughter had made a tea that left my son-in-law dizzy? They would laugh in my face, or worse, they would look at me with that expression of pity people use when they think you are going senile. Are you sure about that, ma'am? Could it not just be a stomach bug? No, I needed concrete proof. I needed to know exactly what Harper had put in that tea. I grabbed my cell phone and searched for toxicology labs in the area. I found one 40 minutes away that did private analysis without needing a doctor's or police order. I called and scheduled an appointment for the next day, first thing in the morning. Afterward, I opened my computer and started researching. I wanted to understand what had happened to Caleb. What substances could cause those symptoms? Dizziness, blurred vision, slurred speech, loss of motor coordination. The list was long. Benzodiazepines, certain antihistamines in high doses, even some sleeping pills, all easily found in any pharmacy. I thought about the last few months, trying to remember other signs I had ignored. And there they were, clear as day, now that I was paying attention. Harper's unexpected visits, always with some excuse. I was just in the neighborhood. I decided to stop by, but she never just passed by here. Before, my house was not on the way to anywhere she frequented. And the questions. Always the questions about money. Mom, do you have savings? Investments? Is this house really in your name? I answered, without thinking much, because she was my daughter. Why would I hide anything from her? Now I knew why. I got up and went to the home office, that small room at the back of the house I used to keep important documents. I opened the filing cabinet where I kept bank papers, deeds, insurance policies. Everything seemed to be in its place. But I started going through document by document, looking for anything that seemed wrong or out of place. That was when I found it. A folder I did not recognize, with papers I did not remember filing there. I opened it and felt the floor disappear beneath my feet. It was a power of attorney, a broad power of attorney, giving Harper total power over my finances and medical decisions in case of mental or physical incapacity. And my signature was there at the bottom. But I did not remember signing that. I absolutely did not remember. I looked at the date, 2 months ago, the same time she had shown up with those health insurance papers. I felt bile rise in my throat, hot and bitter. She had tricked me. She had made me sign a power of attorney, believing it was something completely different. I photographed every page with my phone, put the originals back in the folder, and put everything back in the filing cabinet. I needed copies before doing anything. I needed proof of everything. That night, I could barely sleep. I lay awake in the dark, listening to every noise in the house, every creak of the wood settling, every gust of wind against the windows. I kept seeing Harper's face in my mind, that fake smile, those cold eyes. How had I not seen it before? How had I let things get to this point? But I knew how. Because she was my daughter. Because I loved her. Because mothers always want to believe their children are good, are honest, are incapable of doing harm, especially to them. The next morning, I woke up as the sun was still rising. I showered, dressed carefully in jeans, a simple blouse, comfortable shoes. I wanted to look lucid, capable, in control of all my faculties. I took the bottle with the tea and drove to the lab. The technician who attended to me was a young guy, maybe 30 years old, with a white coat and a professional expression. I explained that I needed a complete toxicology analysis of the sample without going into too much detail. He asked no questions, just took the bottle, put a label with an identification number on it, and told me the results would be ready in 5 business days. "Can it be faster?" I asked. "It is urgent." He looked at me for a long moment, as if evaluating something, and then nodded. "I can have the results in 48 hours, but it will cost double." "No problem." I paid right there, took the receipt, and went back to the car. 2 days. In 2 days, I would know exactly what Harper had put in that tea, and then I could decide what to do. But I could not just sit around waiting. I needed more information. I needed to understand the full extent of what she was planning. I drove to the county clerk's office downtown, where I had recorded my documents over the years. The clerk had been the same one for decades, a woman in her 60s named Mrs. Higgins, who knew half the city. "Good morning, Barbara." She greeted me with a warm smile when I walked in. "What brings you here today?" "I need to verify some documents," I explained. "A power of attorney that was filed in my name about 2 months ago." She blinked, surprised. "You do not remember filing it?" "I remember signing papers my daughter said were for Medicare, but I discovered yesterday it was a power of attorney." Her expression changed, turning serious. "I understand. I will look in the archives." She left for about 10 minutes and returned with a folder. She opened it in front of me, and there it was, a certified copy of the same power of attorney I had found at home. Only this one had something else, an attached declaration, signed by a doctor I did not know, attesting that I was showing signs of mild cognitive impairment and that the power of attorney was a necessary preventive measure. "I never went to this doctor," I said, pointing at the name. "I have never heard of him in my life." Mrs. Higgins frowned. "But here is your signature, authorizing the consultation and agreeing with the evaluation." I looked at the signature. It looked like mine, but it was not exactly the same. The letters were a little shakier, a little more rushed, as if someone had tried to copy my handwriting, but not perfectly. "This is forgery," I said, my voice coming out firmer than I expected. "Someone forged my signature on this document. Missus." Higgins looked at me for a long moment, then at the document, and then back to me. I saw when she made a decision. "Barbara, I'm going to be honest with you," she said, lowering her voice even though we were alone at the counter. "When your daughter brought these papers, something bothered me. She was very anxious, insisting that everything be recorded the same day, that it was urgent. But the documents were in order, the signatures looked correct, and I had no legal basis to refuse." "Did she come alone, or was I with her?" "She came alone. She said you had signed everything at home, that you had the flu and could not go out." Another lie. I had not had the flu, nor had I stayed home that specific day. I checked my calendar mentally and remembered I was working at the clinic where I volunteered on Thursdays. "What can I do?" I asked. "How do I annul this?" "You are going to need a lawyer," said Mrs. Higgins, "and you are going to need to prove that the signature was forged or that you were misled. Do you have anyone who can attest to your mental capacity, your lucidity?" I thought fast. My colleagues at the clinic, my personal doctor, my sister. Then start there. Gather witnesses, documents, anything that proves you are in full control of your faculties. And look for a lawyer specializing in family law. There is a very good one here in town, Mr. Vance. I can give you his contact. I wrote down the number she gave me and thanked her. Before I left, she grabbed my arm gently. "Barbara, be careful. If your daughter was capable of forging documents, of preparing this whole scheme, do not underestimate what else she can do." Her words echoed in my head the whole way home. Do not underestimate what else she can do. As if I needed a reminder after what happened Christmas morning. As soon as I got home, I called Mr. Vance. I explained the situation briefly. The fraudulent power of attorney, the suspicion that my daughter had tried to drug me, the forged medical declaration. He gave me an appointment for the next day, first thing in the morning. Then I called my sister, Susan. She was 3 years younger than me, lived in another city, Pittsburgh, but we talked at least once a week. I told her everything, from the tea to the forged documents. "My God, Barbara," she gasped. "I always thought Harper was a little self-interested, but this is criminal. Have you gone to the police yet?" "Not yet. I want to wait for the results of the tea analysis. That way I will have concrete proof. Do you need protection? Do you want me to come there? I can arrive tonight?" For a moment, I considered accepting, but then I thought about how that would look. A 65-year-old woman needing her sister to come take care of her. It would be exactly the narrative Harper was trying to build. "It is not necessary, Susan, but thank you. I just need you to be available to testify, if necessary, to confirm that I am lucid, that I do not have memory problems, that I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Of course, anything, just call. And Barbara? Change the locks on your house. Today. Does Harper have a copy of the keys?" My blood ran cold. Yes, she did. I had given her a copy years ago, for emergencies, and had never asked for it back. "I am going to handle that now," I promised, and hung up. I spent the rest of the day calling locksmiths, installing new locks, changing all the deadbolts. It cost a fortune to do everything the same day, but I did not care. I needed to feel safe in my own house. That night Harper called. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. She called again, and again. The fourth time, I answered. "Mom, finally." I was worried. "Why didn't you answer my calls?" "I was busy," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "Busy with what, Mom? Are you okay? You are not upset about leaving early yesterday, are you? I just wanted you to stay for lunch." "I am fine, Harper. I just had things to handle." Silence on the other end. Then, "What kind of things?" "My things." Another silence. Longer this time. I could almost hear her thoughts racing, trying to understand what was happening. "Mom, you are acting weird. You are worrying me. Shouldn't you go to the doctor? Get some tests done?" There it was again. The suggestion planted carefully, making it seem like I was the problem. "I do not need a doctor, Harper. I am perfectly fine. But you left the house on Christmas without even saying goodbye properly. That is not normal for you. And now you are all evasive. You do not want to talk. I am not evasive. I am just busy." "With what?" she insisted, her voice becoming sharper. "Mom, what are you doing? Where did you go today?" The question took me by surprise. How did she know I had gone out? Was it just a hunch or... "Harper, I have to go. I will talk to you later." "Mom, wait." I hung up before she could continue. My heart was beating rapidly. Was she watching me? Was there someone watching my house? I went to the window and looked out at the street, looking for unknown cars, people standing where they shouldn't be. I saw nothing, but that didn't mean there was nothing to see. I closed the curtains and stepped away from the window. Was I going paranoid or just cautious? The line between the two things was becoming very thin. The next morning, I woke up early and went straight to Mr. Vance's office. He was a man in his 50s, gray hair, well-cut suit, the air of someone who had seen it all. He listened to my story without interrupting, only making notes occasionally. When I finished, he sat in silence for a moment, drumming his fingers on the desk. "Barbara, I am going to be direct. You have a strong case, but a complicated one. The power of attorney is valid in principle. It has all the legal formalities. To annul it, we are going to need to prove fraud, and that is not simple. Do you have witnesses who saw you sign?" "No," Harper said. "I was at home, sick, but it was not true." "Can you prove you were not sick? Do you have anyone who saw you that day?" I thought fast. "I was at the clinic where I volunteer. There is an attendance log. Other people saw me there." "Great, that helps. And about the tea? You are waiting for the analysis results? It should be out tomorrow or the day after." He nodded. "If the analysis shows there were controlled substances in that tea, we have grounds to open a police investigation. Attempted poisoning is a serious felony. But I am going to warn you, suing your own daughter is going to be difficult, and the family fallout is going to be devastating." "I know," I replied, and I really knew. But what was the alternative? Let her drug me, declare me incompetent, take control of my life? But I am not going to let her steal everything I built. Then we will do the following. First, we will formally revoke that power of attorney. I am going to prepare the documents today. Second, you are going to undergo a complete psychiatric evaluation with a professional I will recommend to have a recent report attesting to your full capacity. Third, as soon as the toxicology result comes out, we will decide whether to take it to the police or try to resolve it privately. And my assets? How do I protect my house, my money? We will make a clear will with credible witnesses, and we can transfer some assets to a trust where you maintain control, but it is harder for third parties to access. But that takes time. How much time? A few months to do everything right. A few months. Time enough for Harper to try again. Time enough for her to discover what I was doing and try to stop me. I left the lawyer's office with a to-do list and a strange feeling of relief, mixed with fear. At least I had someone on my side now, someone who believed in me and knew how to help me legally. But I also knew I was entering a war, and wars always have casualties. On the way home, I stopped at the supermarket. I needed supplies, but I also wanted a place full of people, security cameras, witnesses, a place where Harper couldn't show up and make a scene without someone seeing. I was in the cereal aisle when I saw her, Harper, pushing a cart, coming in my direction. For a second I thought about turning around and leaving, but it was too late. She had already seen me. "Mom!" Her face lit up with that fake smile I knew so well now. "What a coincidence running into you here." Coincidence, sure, as if she didn't know exactly where I did my shopping every week. "Hello, Harper!" She got too close, invading my personal space. "You disappeared. You don't answer my calls. Don't reply to messages. I'm worried. I already told you I am fine. But you are not acting fine, Mom." Her voice got lower, more urgent. "It is not normal for you to avoid me like this, to push me away. Can you really not realize it? You are changing, becoming different." It was impressive how she did that, flipping the situation, making me seem like the irrational person. But I wasn't going to fall for it. Not anymore. The only thing that changed, Harper, is that I opened my eyes. She blinked. "What?" "I canceled the power of attorney. I know what you did." I saw her face change. For a second, the mask dropped completely, and I saw pure rage in her eyes. But it was fast. In a blink, the worried smile was back. "Mom, that power of attorney is for your own good, to give me the conditions to help you in case something happens. You agreed to it yourself. I agreed to sign health insurance papers, not to give you total control over my life. It is the same thing. I am trying to take care of you." People started looking in our direction. I needed to get out of there before she made a bigger scene. "I will talk to you later," I said, pushing my cart to the opposite side. But she followed me. "No, we are going to talk now. You cannot just accuse me of whatever you are thinking and walk away." I turned around to face her. "Harper, I switched the mugs that morning. The tea that was for me went to Caleb. And he got sick. Very sick." Silence. The people around us pretended not to be listening, but I knew they were paying attention to every word. "He drank too much the night before," said Harper, but her voice came out less steady. "You saw it yourself. He drank 2 glasses of wine. That does not leave anyone in that state the next day. You are insinuating that She didn't finish the sentence. She just looked at me with an expression of shock so convincing I almost believed it was real. Almost. "Mom, you are becoming paranoid. This is a symptom, don't you realize? You need help." "I do not need help, but you are going to need a very good lawyer when the results of the tea toxicology analysis come out." I saw the blood drain from her face. You kept the tea?" "I kept it, and I sent it to be analyzed. I am going to know exactly what you put in it." She stood there, mouth open, searching for words. Finally, she said, "You are crazy. You are completely crazy." And she practically ran out, leaving her shopping cart abandoned in the middle of the aisle. I stood there, shaking, trying to process what I had just done. I had shown my cards. I had revealed that I knew her plan. And now, what would she do? I finished my shopping on autopilot. I paid and left. In the parking lot, I looked around several times before getting into the car, checking if anyone was following me. The paranoia Harper had accused me of was becoming real. But not because I was going senile. It was because my own daughter was conspiring against me. I drove home slowly, taking extra care, checking the rearview mirror constantly. When I arrived, I checked every window and door before entering. Everything seemed intact, but I still felt watched. I put the groceries away quickly and sat in the living room, trying to calm down. My cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, but answered. "Mrs. Barbara?" A male, professional voice. "This is from the lab. We managed to process your sample faster than we expected. The results are ready." My heart skipped a beat. "And what did you find?" "I prefer not to discuss it over the phone. Can you come pick it up personally?" "We have the full report here. I am on my way." I hung up and grabbed my purse again. 20 minutes later, I was in front of the technician, reading the report with hands shaking so much I could barely hold the paper. Zolpidem. There was zolpidem in the tea. Ambien, a restricted medication, used for insomnia, which in high doses causes exactly the symptoms Caleb had: dizziness, disorientation, slurred speech, loss of motor coordination. And in older people, especially if mixed with other medications, it could be fatal. The amount found in the sample was enough to cause significant harm, the technician explained, especially if the person who consumed it had any heart condition or was taking other medications. It was lucky there were no more serious consequences. Caleb was young and healthy. That was why he had only gotten dizzy and slept for hours. But I took medication for high blood pressure. If I had drunk that tea, combined with my daily medication, I could have had cardiac arrest. My daughter wasn't just trying to make me confused. She was trying to kill me. "Do you want me to issue a formal report?" asked the technician. "For judicial use?" "Yes," I replied, my voice coming out steady despite the internal tremor. "Yes, please." He prepared the document, with official stamps and signatures. I paid the extra fee, put everything carefully in my purse, and went back to the car. But I didn't go home. I went straight to the district attorney's office downtown. The DA who attended to me was a middle-aged man, prominent belly, the air of someone who had heard it all. I told him my story from start to finish, showed him the toxicology report, showed him the fraudulent power of attorney, explained about the fake medical declaration. He listened to everything, taking notes. And when I finished, he sighed heavily. "Ma'am, I understand your situation and it is serious. But opening an investigation against your own daughter, are you sure that is what you want? She tried to poison me." "I know, and we have proof of that. But think carefully. This is going to destroy your family. It is going to be a public, painful process. And even with the evidence, it is going to be word against word on many points. She can claim the medication fell accidentally into the tea, that it was a mistake. None of this was a mistake," I said. "It was all calculated. The fake power of attorney, the medical declaration, the drugged tea. She was building a case to declare me incompetent and take everything I have." He nodded slowly. "I believe you, and we are going to open the investigation. But I want you to be prepared for what is coming. It is going to be hard. Your daughter is going to accuse you of being senile. She is going to bring witnesses saying you are confused. She is going to do everything to turn this against you. I know, but if I do not do anything, she is going to try again. And the next time she might succeed." The investigation was opened that same afternoon. The DA told me Harper would be notified in 48 hours and would need to give a statement. They also asked to interrogate Caleb, since he had been the direct victim of the poisoning. I left the DA's office feeling at the same time relieved and terrified. I had taken the step. There was no way to go back now. On the way home, I stopped at Mr. Vance's office and showed him the toxicology report. He read it with attention, nodding occasionally. "This changes everything," he said. "With this in hand, we can not only annul the power of attorney, but also sue for fraud and attempted homicide. The question is, do you want to go all the way? I want to protect what is mine. I want to guarantee she never has access to my life again. Then we will do the following. Besides revoking the power of attorney, we are going to file for a restraining order, preventing her from getting close to you. And we are going to speed up the transfer of your assets to a trust that only you control. That will take a few weeks, but in the meantime, she will not be able to touch anything of yours. And if she already dipped into it? If she already took money out? We are going to audit all your accounts. If there are withdrawals, she is going to have to return every penny, plus interest and penalties. And she will answer criminally. I signed every paper he put in front of me. New powers of attorney, audit authorizations, restraining order requests. My hand hurt from signing so much, but I didn't stop. Every signature was one more layer of protection, one more barrier between Harper and everything I had built. When I finally got home, it was already dark. I was exhausted, physically and emotionally. I made tea from a new box, sealed, that I had bought myself, and sat in the living room, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few days. My cell phone rang. Harper. I ignored it. It rang again and again. Then the messages started. Mom, I need to talk to you urgently. Please, answer the phone. You cannot do this to me. I am your daughter. You are going to regret this, I swear. I blocked the number. I didn't want to hear anything else she had to say. There was nothing that could justify what she had done. But the peace lasted little. At 10 at night, someone knocked on the door. Hard, insistent. I looked through the peephole and saw Harper, face red, eyes shining with rage. Beside her, Caleb, looking uncomfortable. Mom, open this door. I need to talk to you. I didn't open it. I grabbed my cell phone. I called the police. There is someone trying to break into my house, I explained to the dispatcher. My daughter. There is an open investigation against her and a restraining order in process. Patrol on the way, she said. I stayed glued to the door, listening to Harper scream on the other side. She was saying I was crazy, that I had lost my mind, that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Caleb was trying to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen. 8 minutes later, I heard the sirens. I saw through the cracks in the curtain 2 police officers getting out of the squad car and approaching. Harper stopped screaming immediately, composing her face, changing the anger for worry. Officers, thank God you came. My mother is in crisis. She needs urgent medical help. But the officers had been informed of the situation. One of them, a young female officer with her hair pulled back, said, Mrs. Harper, there is a restraining order being processed. You need to step away from this property. But she is my mother. I am worried about her. I understand your concern, but the law is clear. If you do not leave voluntarily, we will have to arrest you for trespassing and violating a court order. I saw Harper look toward the door, toward me hiding behind it, and in that moment her eyes met mine through the crack. What I saw there froze me. Pure hate, undisguised, without masks. She wasn't worried about me. She was furious about having lost control. Caleb pulled her by the arm. Let's go, Harper. You are not going to solve anything like this. She let herself be led away, but not before screaming one last thing. You are going to die alone, Mom. Alone and abandoned, just like you deserve. The words hurt more than I expected, because a part of me, small but still present, still wanted to believe there was some love there, some remorse, some possibility that everything was a terrible misunderstanding. But there wasn't, and I needed to accept that. The officers waited until Harper and Caleb left before knocking on the door. I opened it, thanked them, signed the police report. They left and I locked everything again, checking every window, every door, every possible entry point. That night, I slept on the living room sofa, with all the lights on and my cell phone next to me. I couldn't feel safe in the bedroom, far from the doors, without a view of the windows. Every noise made me jump. Every car passing on the street left me alert. The next morning, I woke up with my body aching and my head heavy. But I had things to do. I called my sister Susan and told her about the incident the night before. Done. I am coming there, she said without hesitation. I do not accept no for an answer. Are you going to stay alone while this is happening? And this time I didn't refuse. I needed someone on my side, someone from the family who wasn't trying to destroy me. Susan arrived at the end of the afternoon, bringing 2 suitcases and her husband, David. They were going to stay in the guest room for as long as necessary. I didn't come just for emotional support, said Susan, hugging me tight. I came to be a witness. So everyone sees that you are perfectly fine, that there is nothing wrong with you except having been betrayed by your own daughter. In the following days, we established a routine. Susan accompanied me to all appointments, with the lawyer, with the psychiatrist for the evaluation Mr. Vance had requested, to the bank to audit the accounts. David installed security cameras around the house, alarm systems on the doors and windows. The psychiatric evaluation took 3 hours. The doctor, Dr. Paula, was meticulous. She did memory tests, logical reasoning tests, judgment capacity tests. She asked about my routine, my hobbies, my relationships. She asked me to solve puzzles, to remember number sequences, to retell stories she had told me. At the end, she closed the notebook and smiled. "Mrs. Barbara, your cognitive capacity is not only normal, but it is above average for your age group. Your memory is excellent, your reasoning is clear, and your judgment is solid. There is absolutely no sign of mental deterioration." The report was issued the same day, with stamps and signatures. One more piece in my defense arsenal. The bank audit, however, brought bad news. There were withdrawals I had not authorized, transfers to accounts I did not know. In total, Harper had siphoned off almost $25,000 in the last 6 months. Always amounts small enough not to draw immediate attention, but which added up represented a significant amount. "She has been preparing this for a while," said Mr. Vance when I showed him the statements. "She probably already knew she was going to need quick cash when her plan was discovered. Can I recover that money? We can sue for restitution, yes. And with the proof we have, she is not going to have any way to deny it. But that takes time. Months, maybe years. Years." The word echoed in my head. Would I have the energy for that? For years of lawsuits, hearings, depositions? The notification reached Harper a week later. She would need to appear at the DA's office to give a statement regarding the accusations of fraud, forgery of documents, and attempted poisoning. Caleb was also summoned, since he had been the victim who effectively consumed the drugged tea. Mr. Vance called me the day after the notification. Harper hired a lawyer, and it is not just anyone, it is Mr. Flavio Torres, known for defending difficult cases and using aggressive tactics. What does that mean for me? It means she is going to fight. She is not going to accept the accusations passively. Prepare yourself for her to try to discredit you publicly, question your sanity, bring people to testify against your mental capacity. But I have the psychiatric report. I have proof, and she is going to try to disqualify each one of them. That is how it works. But do not worry. We have a solid case. It is just not going to be easy or fast. He was right. In the days that followed, stories started to appear about me. Small ones, planted carefully. An ex-neighbor I barely knew gave an interview to the local paper talking about how I seemed confused lately, repeating the same questions several times. A distant relative posted on social media about how sad it was to see someone in the family losing their lucidity in old age. They were lies, all of them. But lies repeated enough times start to seem like the truth. Harper was building her defense. I was the problem, not her. I was the senile one, the paranoid one, the one inventing stories. Susan was furious when she saw the posts. How can they do that? How can they lie so blatantly? Because they are desperate, I replied. And desperate people do anything. But I was not going to let them control the narrative. With Susan's help, I started documenting everything. I filmed videos showing my daily routine, my activities, normal conversations. I asked friends and neighbors to write letters attesting to my sanity. I gathered photos of recent events where I appeared clearly lucid and active. The war of narratives had begun. Harper's deposition at the DA's office was set for a Tuesday. Mr. Vance advised me not to go, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to look her in the eye when she tried to lie about what she had done. We arrived early. Me, Susan, and Mr. Vance. We sat on the benches in the hallway, waiting. 15 minutes later, Harper appeared with her lawyer. She wore a discreet, formal outfit, hair pulled back, light makeup, the image of the worried and responsible daughter. When our eyes met, she looked away quickly. But not without me seeing something there. It wasn't anger, like the night she showed up at my door. It was something more dangerous. Cold determination. The deposition lasted 2 hours. I couldn't enter the room, but Mr. Vance got a copy of the transcript afterward. I read everything carefully. Harper denied everything. She said the tea was just tea, that Caleb must have had an allergic reaction to some natural ingredient. She said the power of attorney had been signed by me voluntarily, that I understood perfectly what I was doing. She said the medical declaration was based on real consultations I had had, but didn't remember due to memory problems. Lies upon lies, all told with conviction. But then came Caleb's statement, and things changed. He arrived alone, without Harper, looking tired and older than his 40 years. He sat in the deposition room, and when asked about the tea, he hesitated. I do not remember much about that day, he began. But I remember I felt very sick, much more than I would if it was just a hangover or allergy. And I remember Harper got nervous when she realized her mother had switched the mugs. What do you mean, nervous? She went pale. She tried to take the mug back, but it was too late. I had already drunk it. He paused, running a hand over his face. At that moment I did not think much of it. But later, when the police called me, I started connecting the dots. The weird conversations she had on the phone, the way she insisted her mother was getting forgetful, the documents she made me sign without explaining properly. What documents? Powers of attorney, authorizations. She said it was all to protect her mother. But now I do not know. I think there was something else. The DA showed him the toxicology report. Caleb read it and turned pale. This was in the tea? Zolpidem? Ambien? But that is controlled medication. Where did she get it? We are investigating, but do you have any idea? Caleb sat in silence for a long moment, then he said in a low voice, She has a prescription. For insomnia. She has been taking it for months. One more piece fitting in. Harper had legal access to the medication. She had the means. She had the motive. And now, with her own husband's statement, we had compromising testimony against her. When Mr. Vance told me about Caleb's statement, I felt something strange. It wasn't joy for having more proof. It was sadness. Sadness because Caleb, who had always been kind to me, was now trapped in the middle of all this. Sadness because a family was being destroyed and there was no turning back. Caleb asked for a divorce, Mr. Vance told me. He spoke to the DA after the official statement. He said he cannot trust her anymore, that he realized he did not know the woman he was married to. She is going to blame me for everything, I said. She is going to say, I destroyed her marriage. Probably. But the truth is, she did this herself. In the days following, I kept waiting for some reaction from Harper. A call, a message, maybe another attempt to show up at my house, but there was nothing. Total silence. This made me more nervous than the threats. At least when she was screaming, I knew where she was, what she was thinking. But in the silence? In the silence, she could be planning anything. She is cornered, said Susan when I commented on my concerns. Her lawyer must have ordered her to stay quiet, not to do anything that could worsen the situation, or she is waiting for the right moment to attack. Susan looked at me with that younger sister expression that always knew when I was afraid, but pretended I wasn't. Barbara, are you afraid of her? I thought before answering. I am afraid of what she can do, of how far she is willing to go, because I raised this girl, believed I knew her, and discovered I know nothing. If she was capable of trying to poison me, of forging documents, of lying so easily, what else is she capable of? That is why you have protection now. The cameras, the alarm, the restraining order. And I am here. David is here. We are not going to let her get close to you. But protection only works when you know where the attack is coming from. And Harper had proven to be very good at attacking from unexpected angles. 3 weeks later, I received a call from Mr. Vance with news I didn't expect. Barbara, I just got contacted by Harper's lawyer. She wants to reach a deal. What kind of deal? She commits to returning all the embezzled money, formally renounces any right to your inheritance or assets, and accepts the complete revocation of the power of attorney. In exchange, you withdraw the criminal charges. I stood in silence, processing. It was a tempting offer. It meant recovering the money, guaranteeing my financial security, and avoiding years of trial. But it would also mean Harper wouldn't answer for what she did. There would be no punishment, no criminal record. She would go free, I said. Legally, yes, but you would be protected, and with your life back. I need to think, of course, but know that they are pressing for a quick answer. I think she is having financial problems. The divorce, the lawyer's fees, the loss of access to your money. She must be desperate. I hung up and sat on the porch, watching the garden. Susan was watering the plants, David fixing the fence that had come loose in the strong wind the night before. It was such a normal scene, so peaceful, and I could have that back. Peace, tranquility. If I just accepted the deal and left everything behind, but would it be fair? Harper had tried to kill me. She had planned everything coldly, methodically, and if I let it pass, if she didn't suffer real consequences, what would stop her from trying again? With someone else, maybe. Or even with me, in the future, when she thought I had lowered my guard. "You are thinking about accepting the deal," said Susan, approaching with the hose still in her hand. "It wasn't a question. I am considering it. And what would the decision of the Barbara from 30 years ago be? That one who raised 2 kids alone, who worked double shifts, who never let anyone walk all over her." I smiled despite everything. She would tell that offer to go to hell. Then why would the Barbara of now be different? "You didn't get weaker with age, Barbara. You got wiser. And wisdom does not mean accepting injustice." She was right. I knew she was. But I was also tired. Tired of the fight, the stress, of having to constantly prove I was sane, that I was the victim and not the villain of this story. That night I called Mr. Vance. "I reject the deal. Harper answers for everything she did. I want complete justice." There was a pause on the other line. Then, "Are you sure? Because that means going to trial. It means exposing everything publicly, going through interrogations, seeing your daughter potentially sentenced to prison." "I am sure." "Then, let's move forward." The answer reached Harper the next day. Her lawyer called Mr. Vance trying to negotiate, but the decision was made. There would be no deal. There would be a trial. 2 days later, I received a letter. It was in my name, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting on the front of the envelope. It was from Harper. I hesitated before opening it. I shouldn't read what she had to say, but curiosity won. "Mom, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. I am not the monster they are painting. Everything I did was thinking of your well-being. You are getting old. You need care. You need someone to make decisions for you. I was just trying to prepare for the inevitable, but you, in your stubbornness, are transforming this into a war. A war you are not going to win, because in the end, it is me who is going to be by your side when you really get sick, when you really need help, and you are going to remember this moment and you are going to regret it. Regret having chosen strangers, lawyers, police, judges, instead of your own daughter. But by then, it will be too late. You are going to die alone, just like you deserve, and I am going to be far away, living my life, free of your paranoia and your bitterness. Goodbye, Mom. You were the one who wanted this." I read the letter 3 times. There wasn't an apology. There wasn't acknowledgement of what she had done. Just more guilt, more manipulation, more attempts to flip the story and make me seem like the villain. I filed the letter along with all the other documents. One more proof of her character, in case we needed it in the trial. The following months passed in a strange routine. There were preliminary hearings, witness depositions, expert assessments. Every week brought a new stage of the process, and every stage brought more revelations about how far Harper had gone. We discovered she had consulted 3 different doctors, trying to get a declaration that I had dementia. 2 refused after examining me and seeing that I was perfectly fine. The third, the one whose signature was on the fraudulent documents, had never seen me personally. He had only signed based on what Harper told him. When confronted, the doctor admitted he had been negligent, that he had not followed proper protocols. He lost his license and also answered for document forgery. But his statement was crucial. He confirmed she had actively sought ways to declare me incompetent, even knowing there was no medical basis for it. We also discovered she had tried to sell my house in secret. She had contacted real estate agents, gotten appraisals, even signed a pre-contract using the fraudulent power of attorney. The sale only didn't go through because the buyer asked to meet me personally, and Harper couldn't arrange a meeting without raising suspicions. Every discovery was a stab wound, not just because of the betrayal itself, but because of the planning. This hadn't been an impulse. A moment of weakness. It had been an elaborate plan, executed over months, maybe years. Harper had looked at me, her mother, and had seen only an opportunity, an obstacle between her and the money she believed she deserved. How did I not see it? I asked Susan one night, while we reviewed documents for the trial approaching. How does a mother not realize her own daughter is planning to destroy her? Because you loved her, answered Susan simply. Because love does not question, does not suspect, does not assume the worst, and she used that against you. The trial was set for a Monday in August. It was technically summer, but the courthouse was freezing with air conditioning. It seemed wrong, somehow. A day so bright outside for something so ugly inside. I dressed carefully, discreet suit, hair pulled back, light makeup. I wanted to look like what I was, a lucid, capable woman, victim of a manipulative daughter. Susan and David went with me. Mr. Vance met us at the courthouse door. "Are you ready?" he asked. "As much as I can be." Harper was already inside when we entered, sitting next to her lawyer, back to me. She didn't turn around when I passed. Her husband Caleb was not present. He would be called as a witness later. The trial lasted 3 days. 3 days of statements, arguments, evidence presented. I testified about Christmas morning, about the switched mugs, about everything I had discovered afterward. Caleb testified about how he had felt after drinking the tea, about the strange conversations he had heard, about the documents Harper made him sign without proper explanation. The DA presented the toxicology report, the fraudulent documents, the bank records showing the embezzlement. She presented the statement of the doctor who had signed the fake dementia declaration. The defense tried to argue that everything had been a misunderstanding, that Harper was only trying to take care of me, that the medication in the tea had been an accident. But the evidence was too much, too clear, too damning. On the 3rd day, Harper finally took the witness stand. She took the oath, sat up straight, her face composed in a mask of wounded dignity. Her lawyer started with gentle questions, trying to build an image of a worried and misunderstood daughter. "Mrs. Harper, can you tell us why you decided to make that special tea for your mother on Christmas morning?" "I wanted to do something special for her," replied Harper, her voice soft and controlled. "My mother loves ginger tea. I thought it would be a loving gesture to start the day like that. And about the medication found in the tea, can you explain how it ended up there?" I take sleeping medication, Ambien. That morning I was tired. I had slept poorly the night before. I must have taken the pill to drink it with water and accidentally dropped it into the pot where I was brewing the tea. I did not realize. It was a terrible mistake, but it was just that, a mistake. It was a well-rehearsed story, almost convincing. Almost. If you didn't know about everything else, the forged documents, the money embezzlement, the attempts to declare me incompetent, the prosecutor, a woman in her 40s named D.A. Miller, stood up for cross-examination. "Mrs. Harper, the amount of zolpidem found in the tea was equivalent to 4 pills. Are you telling us you dropped 4 pills accidentally?" Harper hesitated. I do not know exactly how many there were. Maybe the analysis is wrong." The analysis was done by 3 independent labs. They all reached the same result. D.A. Miller stepped closer. "But let's talk about other things. Can you explain how you got your mother's signature on a power of attorney she never saw?" "My mother did see it. She signed because she agreed. But her statement of the day does not correspond to that. You told her they were Medicare documents, did you not?" I might have simplified it so as not to confuse her. She gets forgetful." "Forgetful?" "We have here a recent psychiatric report attesting that your mother has cognitive capacity above average for her age. We have statements from friends, neighbors, volunteer colleagues, all saying she is perfectly lucid. What do you have to counter this? She hides it well. In public, she manages to hold it together, but at home, alone, she gets confused. And the doctor who signed the dementia declaration, did he examine her personally?" Harper bit her lip. "I do not know. I assumed so." "Do not assume. Answer. Did he examine your mother?" "No." "Then how could he attest she had cognitive problems?" I told him the symptoms." "Invented symptoms?" "They were not invented. I was worried. Worried enough to forge documents? To siphon money from her accounts? To try to sell her house without her knowledge?" The questions continued, each one peeling back another layer of Harper's defense. She started to stutter, to contradict herself, to get visibly nervous. Her lawyer tried to object several times, but the judge overruled them. The questions were legitimate, and Harper needed to answer. Finally, D.A. Miller asked, "Mrs. Harper, do you love your mother?" Harper looked at me for the first time in 3 days. Our eyes met across the courtroom, and for a second, just a second, I saw something there. Regret? Shame? Or just rage for having been caught? "Of course I love her," she said, but the words came out hollow. "How curious," said D.A. Miller, "because all the evidence suggests you only love her money." Harper's lawyer protested vehemently, but the damage was done. I saw some jurors nod discreetly. When it came my turn to make a final statement, I stood up slowly. My body ached. 3 days sitting on hard courtroom benches weren't easy for anyone, let alone someone of 65. But I kept my posture straight, head held high. "Harper is my daughter," I began, my voice resonating in the silent courtroom. "I carried her for 9 months. I raised her alone after her father abandoned us. I worked 2 jobs to give her everything she needed. I paid for her college, helped with her wedding, was there for every important moment of her life." I paused, breathing deeply, and she repaid my love by trying to kill me. It was not an accident. It was not maternal concern. It was greed, pure and simple. She looked at me and saw a retiree with some savings, a paid-off house, no one to defend me. She saw an opportunity. Harper lowered her head, but she didn't cry. She showed no emotion. I could have accepted the deal she offered me. I could have recovered my money and avoided all this. But I didn't, because I believe in justice. I believe actions have consequences. And I believe other mothers, other seniors, need to know they can fight. They can defend themselves. They do not need to accept being victims just because they are older. I looked directly at Harper. "You destroyed our family. Destroyed the trust, the love, everything we built together. And you will have to live with that for the rest of your life. But you are not going to destroy my dignity. You are not going to make me feel guilty for defending myself. And you are not going to steal my last years of peace." I sat down. The courtroom stayed silent for a long moment. Then the judge banged the gavel and called for a recess before final deliberations. The verdict arrived the next day. Guilty on all counts: attempted poisoning, fraud, document forgery, misappropriation of funds. The sentence was read calmly by the judge: 6 years in prison, to be served in a minimum security facility, given her good prior behavior and the fact she was a first-time offender. Additionally, restitution of all embezzled money with interest and fines, forfeiture of any right to future inheritance, and a permanent restraining order. She could not get close to me for the next 10 years. Harper didn't react when she heard the sentence. She just nodded, as if she were already expecting it. She was led away in handcuffs, and I watched her go without looking back. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel satisfied revenge, just a deep exhaustion and a heavy sadness. I had won the battle, but lost my daughter, and there was no real victory in that. I went back home that afternoon with Susan and David. The house seemed different somehow, lighter, maybe. Or maybe I was the one who was different. "You did the right thing," said Susan, making tea for the 3 of us. Real tea, from a new box she herself had bought. "I know it doesn't seem like it now, but you did. She is my daughter," I murmured. "I should have seen the signs. I should have done something before reaching this point." "Barbara, look at me." Susan held my face between her hands. "You have no guilt. None. You were a wonderful mother. She is the one who made horrible choices. This is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of her." That night I slept better than I had slept in months. No alarms, no startles, no fear at every noise. For the first time since that Christmas morning, I felt safe in my own house. The following months were of rebuilding. Susan and David returned to their home in Pittsburgh, but they called every week. I resumed my volunteer work at the clinic. I went back to attending the book club. I resumed the watercolor classes I had abandoned. The embezzled money was returned. Harper sold her car, some jewelry, everything of value she had to pay. I used part of it to renovate the house. Part I donated to institutions supporting seniors who are victims of abuse. Sometimes, In the silent nights, I thought about Harper. Where was she? What was she doing? Did she have any remorse? But I didn't reach out. The restraining order was as much for my protection as for my peace of mind. I needed to let go. A year after the trial, I received a letter. It was from Caleb. He had remarried, was living in another state, Ohio, rebuilding his life. In the letter, he apologized for not seeing what Harper was doing, for not protecting me when he should have. I replied saying there was nothing to forgive. He had also been a victim, in a different way, but still a victim. Today, at 67, I have a quiet and full life. It is not the life I imagined having, without my daughter, without grandchildren, without the family I thought I would have, but it is mine. Conquered with struggle, protected with determination, lived with dignity. I learned that family is not always blood. It is who stands by your side in the worst moments, who believes in you when everyone doubts, who fights for you when you almost give up fighting for yourself. I learned that getting old does not mean becoming fragile or vulnerable. It means having wisdom, experience, strength, accumulated from all previous battles. It means knowing when to fight and how to fight. And I learned, most painfully, that sometimes loving someone means letting them face the consequences of their own actions, even when that someone is your daughter, even when it hurts more than you imagined possible. The house is silent now, but not empty. It is full of good memories, from before everything fell apart. It is full of future possibilities, of new beginnings that I can still have, and it is full of peace, a peace I fought hard to get and that I am not going to let anyone take away from me ever again. Now, if you like this story, click subscribe, and tell me in the comments which part left you with your mouth open. Oh, and don't forget to become a member to have access to exclusive videos that I don't post here. I'll see you there.